Hi there and welcome to another edition of Jamie's Book Club. Now, I have done a couple of episodes of these so far. The second one was about children's books, where to buy them, tips and stuff, so if you missed that, do check them out in the links below. There was also the first episode where I talked about my journey in reading. Now, this is kind of a follow-on to that one, where I want to answer some of the, or certainly react to some of the comments that I received on that first video. Now, this is something I want to do regularly. I will also tell you what I'm reading and give a little review on what I've just finished reading as well. At the moment this year I've only read maybe one or two books, but one of them was like 50 pages, so let's not count that. But let's first start replying to some of the things that we've got here. So Yvonne said it wasn't until she was about 55 and finished with paid work that she started to read novels. The first one she believes was Les Miserables, which is of course the book in which the musical and all the films and stuff is based on. Which she says is a difficult book to read, but the story was so intriguing that I persevered and only missed out the most descriptive pages about a war zone and fast-tracked history of France, which didn't seem to enhance the plot much. Since then, they've read lots of modern thrillers, latterly The Woman at the Window, which was very original and anything anyone kindly passed on to me in the lockdown. Said she would dabble with any recommended crime suspense writer, but not keen on horror for horror's sake, or fantasy. She must be the only person on the planet who had no interest in Harry Potter. And at present, they're reading a book called The Lie of the Land by Amanda Craig, which she said seems promising after 2 chapters. I'm sure by now you've probably finished it, Yvonne. So, must be the only person on the planet who had no interest in Harry Potter. Well, it's true. I probably wouldn't have had any interest in it if I hadn't seen the movies, and then the books were bought for me, and I was initially kind of, I'm not sure about this, I don't really read books, and I guess I read the first 4, got into the 5th one, but couldn't really enjoy it too much. I just felt like it had gone on far enough. I'd read the first 4 of them, which were they were in a box set. It felt like I'd finished in some ways. And I think I saw the 5th film and didn't enjoy it, so maybe I was right on that. But one day, maybe we may revisit that. But, that kind of book is not particularly on my list of watching, of reading. And as for, like, crime, what do you think of writers like Agatha Christie? Are they the masters that they're made out to be, or is anyone out there actually sceptical about these writers? Are they overexposed somewhat because they're always adapted? So let's go on to the next one, which came from Joel. Thank you for your comment, Joel. He said, great idea, thank you. He said, I'm currently reading Bourdain in Stories. It's a retrospective of the life of Anthony Bourdain, recalled by the people closest to him. Really great read so far. Well, hopefully you finished that book by now and you enjoyed it to the end. I am only really familiar with Anthony Bourdain from his TV show. I can't remember what that is called. Is it Bourdain Impossible or something? It's something along those lines, isn't it? It's Bourdain Around the World. There are lots of series like that. He seems to be of a very certain type, and I think I always end up going for the opposite. Like the kind of show he did, I watched things like Somebody Feed Phil, with Phil Rosenthal, who created Everybody Loves Raymond, and I really like Taste the Nation with Padma Lakshmi as well. Those are 2 very similar shows to the Anthony Bourdain one, but I'm not sort of I'm not that clued up on it. It is available all over the place, obviously. As for his writing, he was a food critic, and I know Jay Rayner has said he was one of the sort of harsher critics out there. But I would imagine a very interesting read. And it's interesting reading about people's lives because you have that kind of on-screen personality, but then you see a different side to them when you list all their other achievements or people's off-camera experiences with them. You see a different angle of the person, and this is what I'm finding after reading The Life and Wife of Alan Ludden. After the passing of American actress Betty White, I've been a fan of Betty for years, beyond the Golden Girls, and a few years ago I discovered her husband, her third husband, whom is said to be her last word before she passed. And I think that is such a lovely thing. And so I discovered her husband then. He was the presenter of a game show called Password, and he also presented an early version of University Challenge on American television called GE College Bowl. He practically invented the thing. He came up with all the rules, and when you look at Alan Ludden's version of that, of GE College Bowl from the mid to late 50s, it's University Challenge. They've worked it all out before we even got it here on these shores, which is amazing. It's a shame he never got the credit that he deserved on that. But in this book, which is really a book about Alan, but they kind of go in tandem with Betty, because obviously later when they were married in 1963, their paths cross somewhat, quite a lot professionally. So you get to read about how these two people were kind of groundbreakers in early media and in the theatre, and the stuff that they helped to pioneer. I mean, even just the thing that everybody knows about in America, his version of Password, the stuff he was doing on Password in 1965 would be seen as amazing even now. Like, the vibe is not stuffy and stiff. He is so loose the whole time, and yet still manages to have an air of authority, which is amazing. And this book it blew my mind, because it was like, he did so much stuff. He was an author, he was an actor, he was a lecturer, you know, he did stuff in the military, in theatre. He helped give Carl Reiner his first start, the guy who created the Dick Van Dyke Show. It was just so many achievements, and he just seemed to be so into working. You know, he just wanted to work all the time, even up to his death in 1981, which is where the book kind of ends, but we get a little bit on Betty at the end, what she did afterwards, and obviously again how that relates to Alan. So I do highly recommend this book. It blew my mind. It's a long read, and if you don't know about American television, American game shows perhaps, even American culture, then you might not get much out of it. But for me, it just lifted the lid on Mr. Password. He's definitely more than that game show. So yeah, that's The Life and Wife of Alan Ludden, which I really enjoyed. I haven't actually, I can be honest with you, I haven't actually started a book yet, because the other day I don't know, my son went into the room where the books are, and he started pulling all the books off the shelves, and some of my bookmarks fell out. So some of the books I was hoping to continue, I probably won't. I'm kind of put off of continuing them at the moment, so I'm trying to get some bookmarks that kind of just stick to the top or something, you know, to try and keep it in place, so that when he pulls it out for whatever reason, or find a way of like sticking them in so that he can't pull them out. That's probably the best way. So yes, I'm afraid I'm not keeping up my end of the bargain, but tell me what you're reading. Tell me what you're reading, because I find it really interesting to hear about other books and the information that you're gleaming from it. So yeah, let me know in the comments below, and hopefully by the next episode, which might be a month away, I will have read something or be in the process of reading something.